Beginning of the season, they get their tops clipped off by the boats.
Yeah.
You have to remember that they get clipped off by the boats, and then they can't grow. And after a while, I think that's what my opinion, that over the years, maybe over these 30 or 40 years, people don't see it because I see it because I only get here once in a while.
Mm-hmm.
But over the years, they gradually just gave up. They couldn't grow anymore because they just kept they clipped off. Now there are just a few. You can still see them down in the water, but they're not very healthy. So those are the changes in the natural part of the lake that I see. And so it was a much, you might say, a much wild, in a sense, a much more primitive place. And there was a lot more nature in the lake at a time than there is today. Well, that's good or bad, I don't know, but all I know it's much different.
Yeah. How old were you when you first started coming up to the lake?
We bought the cottage the year before I was born.
Okay.
So, and I have my memories of this from the time I was about 4 years old on, which means from about 1925, 1926 on. I have pretty good memories of the lake. But these things I'm mentioning now about the natural part, they were still that way in the 1930s.
Yeah.
It wasn't until after the war years, after 1945, when the lake really started to change in its natural situation.
Yeah.
And I also, of course, now a lot of you have seen, many of your generation has seen the development of the third basin. But I don't know if you remember back as far as when the third basin, which we only got to maybe once in, well, Bob and I might row there once every 3 years. It was a long ways to row. I don't remember fishing there more than once or twice. And Mort remembers the one time when we rowed there.
Well, I've heard tell that story.
We tell a story about the bait, yeah. Because at that time, we were so poor, we didn't even have a boat. And when we came up here, we borrowed a boat from our cousin, Freddie Gallmeyer. And that day, Bob and I rowed and went fishing all the way to the third basin and back.
And about how old were you?
Probably about 10, 11.
And Bob was a few years older?
Bob was, he's 8 years older than I am.
Okay,
Yeah,
so he was
yeah.
almost an adult.
So he was much older, yeah. He was already working on the roads in the summer. But I want to say one thing, that the third basin had one building in it. There was a farmhouse on the far end, almost by the entrance to Snow Lake. There was one farmhouse. That's all there was in the third basin. So you can see, and now when you look to the third basin, with that tremendous building there, you can see how it's changed.
Yes.
Thank God we have a park on that side, on that basin, we have a park in our basin, and that's sort of, so we still have some semblance of the natural beauty of the lake. Now, if you want to hear about what happened on that famous day in the third basin, you can talk to Mort, because she came along with us when Bob and I came up to go fishing, and she came up and stayed with our cousin Helen, who loaned us the boat because we didn't have any. And they loaned us the boat, and we went fishing for the whole day. And we were gone for the whole day.
Okay.
And what did you find out, Mort, when we got back? What happened?
Well, the thing was, there I was with Helen, and we had a marvelous day.
About how old were you?
Oh, I must have been about
9, 8,
5.
8.
I was
Well,
almost
35, 36.
She was
So
about
you're about
I was
7.
about 8. Then you
7
were
or
a little
8.
old, then you were older. First
Yeah.
of all, before they get confused with ages. At the moment, I am 64.
Okay.
Now, Bing is 7 years older than I am.
So
Pussy is 9 years older than I am. Dolly is 13 years older than I am. And Bob was 15 years older.
okay.
So-
An age span.
So there was an age span, yeah. And that's why I don't remember nearly as much of the old stuff as they do.
Yeah.
But I remember a lot of it. The difference. Anyway, to
stories
get back
at
to the
least.
story. And Ellen was getting worried sick, and I was getting worried sick too about what happened to them because they didn't get home. They didn't get home. And it was starting to get pitch black outside. You know? They still hadn't come home. Finally, we saw this boat coming from this distance, and we thought, that must be them, because we hadn't seen anybody else out in the water besides them, you know. And sure enough, up they came, and there was Bing with his big cut in his head. Where? It seems the story was that Bob was casting and accidentally casted right into his head.
Bait,
So,
yeah.
the bait.
The bait
Yes.
got the bait in my head, yeah.
Yes. And of course they had to dig it out because it was in too deep.
I'll tell you how we got it. We were right in front of this one farmhouse I say was there. So we went to that farmhouse and said, do you have maybe a razor or something like that? I've got a bait in the head. my brother has a bait in the head.
Now, by a bait, that's different
A
than just a
casting
hook.
bait. We call it casting bait. The casting bait, that means a plug bait.
It has this
It
four.
was in the shape of a minnow. I had triple
Okay.
hooks on it. About 2 of the triple hooks had stuck in my head because he cast it over my head a little too low, and it stuck there. And we asked the people at the farmhouse for some help. Well, they didn't have anything they could think about, so he says, "Well, I've got a razor blade and some mercurochrome. We always carry mercurochrome in a tackle box for things that might happen." And so he did a major operation out there in the third basin, and he poured a little mercurochrome on my head.
Bob did this?
Bob did, and with that razor blade, he made a cut on one side of the hook, and then on the other side of the hook, and he took a hold of it firmly, and he pulled it out, and that was it. And he poured a little more mercurochrome in it, and that was it. And we fished all our way home. Mind that when I think about today, now to row that far, you think that was a lot. Many times, how come now another part of our life, going to the 30s now, because rowing that far, we did not consider that very outrageous. Buddy Gallmeyer and I, in the middle 30s, looking for something exciting to do on Saturday night. We would sit out here in the dock, and of course the most exciting place on the lake after dark was Bledsoe's Beach.
And that was there.
Which was,
by then.
yeah. But at that time, Bledsoe's Beach was a very lively place at night. The marina was one thing there. It was George Meyer's boat livery. But the biggest part of Bledsoe's Beach was the dance hall. It was a very, very popular dance hall on weekend nights. And besides that, there was a little grocery store there in a very attractive place. An all-stone building, which is all gone now. And it had those wonderful soda fountain in it, which had the best chocolate sodas that you could imagine. But anyway, we used to want to go to Bledsoe's Beach. And a number of times, Buddy Gallmeyer and I rode to Bledsoe's Beach on Saturday night. Mm-hmm. We'd take a flashlight with us, and we'd row all the